I'm your host, Eric Eisenberg. Welcome to Hero Blend number 35. After years of waiting, the Deadpool movie is finally happening at 20th Century Fox, and while we couldn't be more excited, there are still a lot of questions that need to be answered. Who's going to star? Who's the director? What's it going to be rated? There's a lot to talk about, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. I am very excited to have once again on the show Miss Roth Cornet from IGN. How's it going?
Good. I love coming here because it's always enthusiastic.
Oh, we're always very happy to have you on the show, and it's been a while, so this is going to be fun.
I'm excited to be here, and we're talking about
Deadpool, which is a subject I've wanted to talk about on Hero Blend for a long time, but I can't because this movie has been in development hell for so goddamn long, but now it's actually going. It's great!
Thanks to the internet.
Thanks to the internet. And let's talk about that because it's weird that it seems a leaked video, leaked test footage video is kind of what got this whole thing started.
Can I tell you my theory?
Hit me.
I don't think it was leaked.
You don't think it was leaked?
I think it was a leak. This is just a theory because I do think that sometimes studios will test the waters for certain properties because it's still out there. Usually, if it's a real leak, they get that stuff.
Exactly. That's true.
And it's still out there. You can find it so easily, and you should if you haven't seen it.
And not only that, but like it went from being kind of this crummy, like handy cam version to a high def version.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
who has their hands on that kind of footage? And I mean, hell, if their plan was to leak it so that it could, so that people would get a taste and people would get excited for it, so that the movie can get made.
Great.
It really works. So fantastic. Just talking about that footage, though, what did you make of it? Like, if this is going to be, right?
Yeah. I thought it was really fun, and I know that we'll probably get into this in a moment. But other than the beheading, the full-on beheading, that is, I know people have a lot of concerns about the rating. Yeah. And we will talk about that. But that is, pretty much, that would be a PG film. Other than possibly, and I don't know if you could maybe even get away with it just because it was so wacky and it didn't really show like blood and guts.
Honestly, if you look at Expendables 3, which was released just this past summer with a PG-13 rating, which is an insanely violent film that got away with having a PG-13 rating instead of an R simply because it had no blood.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that it could potentially, I mean, like that beatings and stuff is kind of, I mean, it's violent, but apparently the MPAA, as long as nobody's bleeding, that's fine.
The Dark Knight is a PG-13 film.
Yeah, exactly. Very good point.
It is a dark and gritty film. It is violent. Very scary things happen in it. So I think that what some of the people that I've talked to, what they want to see, well, we're on the rating, so I guess we'll just be talking about that.
Yeah.
What they want to see is like brutal kind of Kill Bill level scope of violence, which is great, you know?
The thing is, the reason why I kind of am on board with that idea is, one, it sort of fits the nature of the character. I mean, in the comics, obviously, there's the comics code that prevents him, like, there are Marvel Max comics that allow Deadpool to kind of go purely nuts. But, but Deadpool is a psychotic mercenary. Like, what he's doing should result in a lot of blood and, like, exactly, and this is kind of an R-rated character, and so like the R rating would obviously fit him quite well. But I think the bigger point is that I just want to see something kind of different, like from mainstream comics at least, because I mean we've seen R-rated comics and comic book movies in Kick-Ass and Sin City, but this would be a superhero. This would be like a proper Marvel Comics movie that is turned into an R rating, which we haven't seen yet, and we're in an age where experimentation with comic book movies is totally in. Like, look at James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a frickin' point I've been pointing to like every week on the show. But
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that movie so much.
But
anyway.
The point is that it's changing the landscape, and I want to see it change in more diverse ways. And certainly a way to do that would be introducing an R-rated superhero.
Yeah, I see your point, and I understand where everybody's coming from. Particularly, look, I do think some of the times people get caught up in the idea of ratings, and I'm like, look, does it really matter if it's a good film?
Oh, of course, yes.
And again,
that superheroes everything.
Point to what for many people is their favorite comic book film is The Dark Knight. For many, many people, not everybody, but many people, PG-13. So, if it's a good film, I think it's relevant. I do think for Deadpool, it gets a little tricky where you're like, how much of the character are you going to have to sacrifice in order to make that PG-13? I don't know. Hopefully they'll find a way.
Well, I mean, and of course the ultimate worry is that if you cut enough things from the character, you'll just get X-Men Origins Wolverine, and nobody wants that.
I don't think we'll see they really bastardize the character.
That's true.
You know, and I don't think that you will, especially if you look at that test footage. If it is any indication, that's not the direction. That they're going,
absolutely. In fact, I mean, there was a script leak. Obviously, this was a couple years ago. I'm sure the script has changed in the years since.
Talk about the screenwriters.
But Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who directed Zombieland, which is rated R, another good example. But they also did G.I. Joe Retaliation, which is rated PG-13. I personally think it's a fun movie. I know not everyone feels that way.
I feel like we just undercut my argument by like a lot. But
sorry. But anyway, what was I going to say? In that script leak, there were reports that the actual film, I mean, because Deadpool is a character who breaks the fourth wall, that there were actually jokes about X-Men Origins Wolverine. There is a scene where an X-Men Origins, I believe it was the Deadpool action figure character with the sewn mouth shut, was actually thrown in a garbage can. Like, that was actually a shot in the film. Again, I don't know if that's something we'll actually see, but that is something I exactly expect out of a Deadpool film.
That's something that you could see, and I think that's what's exciting about the character, is like, it could be like I think it's like X amount of curses that you can have.
Yeah, I think you could say you could say F. I think you say. I'm just gonna say it. Fuck. Once. I'm on Hero Bone. This is my show. And no MPA here. Anyway, getting off point. You can say it once as long as it's not sexualized.
Yeah.
That's the rule, which is stupid. Like, that's just so stupid. Like, I mean, but whatever.
They are arbitrary rules, but they're going to have to follow them. And I mean, look, my boss and I were talking about this week, and it's like, ultimately, the question becomes, sadly, because of how much they'd have to invest financially in order to pull the character off. It's not like they can, but you don't want a low-budget version of it, really.
No. And honestly, like, I mean, and just to get back to Kick-Ass 2, Kick-Ass 2 and Sin City, Dame to Kill For, bombs. They're bombs. I mean, I can totally see from the studio's point of view why they wouldn't want to do that.
If you're going to throw millions of dollars into this, which they are, the question is, do you want a PG-13 Deadpool movie, or do you want no
Deadpool movie? That's really the compromise that you have to come up with.
Yeah.
At the same time, but I think I am more in the lines of I just want a Deadpool movie because I actually trust the filmmakers. Like I said, the Rhett Reese Paul Wernick script got a huge amount of positive buzz when it leaked out a couple years ago.
Zombieland.
Zombieland's a great movie. It's really funny and like. And also the fact that I know for a fact that these guys are very much Deadpool fans. And Ryan Reynolds, who has been established as a very big Deadpool fan, was right there with them writing the script. And I'm also very excited in Tim Miller as a director, simply because he hasn't actually directed a movie yet, but he has, I mean, what we saw from what he did in the test footage is cool. It seems, kind of just judging from your facial expression, you might be a little nervous.
No, I mean, I think that's always interesting, right? To see somebody that I like the test footage.
Yeah.
So you're right. So like that's definitely a good indication of where they're heading. You know who I would love to see direct Deadpool movie?
Who's that?
I say them for so many things, but I really mean it is Chris Miller and Phil Lord.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think it would be like amazing. I just don't know that they're violent. You know, that's the piece of them that I don't think. They're funny and they're irreverent.
It's true. It's the 22 Jump Street movies. They're like, they're fun violent. They're not really violent.
Yeah, and I think we do want a little bit of like Tarantino violent in it.
And also I think it's inevitable that they'll be on a comic book movie someday, right?
Yeah,
they have to. I mean, they're too in demand. And I agree. Actually, though, I may have even said this previously on the show. I think they would also be a perfect fit for Shazam.
Oh yeah, they would be amazing.
They'd be an amazing fit for that.
That's the one they should do.
But I mean, to get back to Tim Miller, I mean, Tim Miller's, like, most people don't know this, but he was the guy who made the opening credit sequence of David Fincher's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Which is very cool.
I think in my review of the film, I actually called it a James Bond theme on heroin.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, backed with that Karen O song, the version of the Led Zeppelin song, and just the visuals of the tar and disgusting and this. I loved that opening sequence.
Yeah.
Like, that got me so throttled into that film. And if he can bring that kind of visual style and energy to something like Deadpool, yeah, he's the guy I want in charge.
I agree with you in this. I love that opening sequence, and it was like the coolest, like hippest Bond opening sequence that could ever exist. That is not a Bond sequence. But I guess my only concern would be, this is a really tricky way to tell a story. You know, it's not, which is maybe okay because he's not like mired in and locked into a structure that you shouldn't be mired into.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to tell a Deadpool story, because it's like Ferris Bueller on crack with some anger issues, you know.
That's an interesting way of describing Deadpool.
Deadly skills, because he's, you know, breaking the fourth
wall. Yeah, exactly, totally. No, I get it. Yeah. No, it's totally on. I get it.
So I feel like, yeah, maybe somebody that's not stuck in sort of a system, that'd be a great refreshing.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he was hired back in like 2010. He's been with the project ever since. Obviously, Fox likes something about him, so yeah. I'm interested in that.
So the big question, the final big question, is to Ryan Reynolds or not to Ryan Reynolds?
I was about to ask that very same question. I vote yes, Ryan Reynolds, because I feel sorry for Ryan Reynolds. I mean, first off, he got the part of Deadpool back in 2010 for X-Men Origins Wolverine. They ended up completely massacring the character, which I'm sure he wasn't even very happy about.
He's on record saying
saying it. Yeah, I mean, and how could he be? Because that just wasn't Deadpool, and he signed up to be Deadpool.
He's a big Deadpool fan. He's been fighting for this for years and years and years. He was not happy with what happened to sewing up his mouth.
It's terrible.
The Merc with a mouth.
It wasn't even him at the end, which is even the worst thing. But I mean, 2011 unfortunately happened. Yeah. He had unfortunately both Green Lantern and the Change Up in the same year. Both ended up being disasters. Kind of ruined his career. But Deadpool, like, I don't know, I'm not necessarily sure I can speak for all fans, but I think at this point, when fans think Deadpool movie, they think Ryan Reynolds starring in that film, and I think they're okay with it, because he's a good fit for that character.
And you made this point earlier, he's a good actor,
yes.
You know? And I think that what you do now, I think that this is what he has working for him, is that it's the characters that's the star. You know, it's not even so much the actor anymore. And so, like...
And he'd be putting on that mask.
He'd be putting on the mask.
And when he's not in the mask, he'll be covered with a cancerous scar all over.
Exactly. It's like, he'll be, for the most part, unrecognizable anyway as this character. And I do think he's a good fit for it. He has that kind of sense of humor.
He has the energy, he has the charisma, he has that perfect, irreverent sense of humor. I think he's a great fit. I will say this, if he can't do it, Joel McHale.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Great thought, right?
Yeah. But I just think it would be heartbreaking. I think
morally... No, I think he has to do it.
Ryan in this movie.
Roth, let's wrap this up. We have a Deadpool movie coming out in 2016. Are you happy with these pieces?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for something different.
Yes. We will definitely be keeping track of this whole thing over the next year as it presumably will head into production. I don't want to jinx this at all. I'm going to knock on wood just real quick because I'm playing it safe. I'm very excited for this movie, everyone. I believe February 2016 this movie is coming out. Stay tuned for more updates on both IGN and on Cinema Blend. Roth, thank you so much for being on the show again this week.
Thank you. So good to see you.
It was great to see you as well. And everyone, I will check you out next week. Have a good one.